just you get to choose. Right? Like here's the scenario. The environment gives us something which can be perceived as negative, can be perceived as not working, can be perceived as problematic. The world's ending. But we get to choose to see it like that, or we get to choose to see it as an opportunity.
So clearly that it's my responsibility now to do that for other people. If I have information and, other people's success is my success and vice versa.
Because you know what? Like, the challenges or the roadblocks are the journey themselves.
There's no big things. It's all little things compounding on top of each other.
Welcome to another edition of the Profiles Coach podcast. Truth Seekers, here we go. Coach Josh in the house. Calling this the day after Labor Day weekend. How you feeling, Coach? Relaxed? What was your experience across this holiday weekend?
Yes, I had some downtime. Usually I travel on Labor Day, go visit some friends, get out of town. I had a single day trip on Saturday. It was to Fayetteville, North Carolina, which is about 3 hours away. We took some kiddos from our youth hockey program, entered into a tournament, actually ended up winning it. So that was amazing. So down and back with some hockey in between. And then Sunday and Monday were like non-scheduled days. I didn't have anything, no commitments, and just caught up with things around the house, some emails, some projects I'm working on, and I got some good R&R at the same time. It was a good weekend.
Oh, awesome. It's like you don't even enter a competition unless you're going to win it. I suppose that's the way to do things, Coach. Congratulations and good stuff for those kids playing. That's great. Fantastic.
Thank you.
I didn't know that before I asked, obviously, but I also was interesting today. A couple of pieces of different feedback from after holiday weekends and where people are. We got a couple of versions of this today where it was people that did things that were little bits of travel here and there. Also were able to come back and use the Monday, actually Labor Day, to do the non-scheduled things, the catch-up stuff. And then a couple of people the other direction, where it's just like they cranked all weekend of things they had going on, and I was kind of in that same camp. Head down to Florida, head back Friday afternoon, back Monday afternoon. And the people in the camp that you're in, where it's like I got a little bit done, but also had some unscheduled time, they got the rest. So the R&I talked about, but seemed to also get the better fulfillment of using time for preparation. So not like using the time itself, but also using it to predict the forward time, the next day, the next week.
Yeah, there was a little bit of that at the end of my Monday night last night as well. Just like prepping out my week. Got my sheet here. It's always nice to put Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday down instead of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's only 4 days to plan out for.
Yeah, interesting. And then it's enough to get that balance right between not maxing out. Because when my friend Chris came over to see me in June for a late birthday thing for me and early one for him, we talked about, because he got here ended up getting here on Thursday afternoon. And he told me that afterwards, after we planned it, it's like, well, why don't I just get there Wednesday night instead? Because I could take the late flight, get there Wednesday night, and then we can have early start Thursday. And then, like, where does it end? Because he's like, well, if I did that as well, I could have just come. If I'm going to come Wednesday night, I might as well get the Wednesday morning flight, and then I get Wednesday afternoon as well as just like later month. And where does it stop, right? Because you could like maximize all the time, but really it's not. It's optimizing, not maximizing. Mm. So my point here is coming back to the space that's been the big thing for me recently. If you've got 24 hours of time, then the goal shouldn't be to use all the 24 hours of time in some sort of activity. It should be to make sure that you can use the 24-hour time to not only enjoy that space, but set up so you can enjoy the next space as well. So you're not kind of one set of 24 hours doesn't cost you another set of 24 hours.
Yeah, it's about being intentional about, I've thought a lot about this too, because if you don't do that, what happens? You just become, a victim of what other people want to do. You're just kind of like on a whim riding the wave, and eventually you come back to this place. I need to plan because you're in a place of discomfort or you're committed to something that you'd rather not be doing, or you're finding yourself out of sorts. Yeah, that's happened to me a lot. The only way to do that is to think about the type of future that you want, and then you can actually uh, segment intend so that you can plan for it.
Yeah, it's the micro and the macro, isn't it? Because the worst thing is showing up for something you actually do want to do and having not enough space to prepare for it, whether that's actually doing some work that you might need to do prepare for it, or at least think about what the experience is and enjoy it up front, get some of those emotions up front, and then when you go into it, you can kind of flow into it much better and get a better result and feel good while you're there as well.
Right.
Being in the moment.
Being in the moment, I feel like preparing, like feeling prepared. There's no substitute. I ran into this today too, asking clients how they're showing up today, and what a difference it makes from the ones who say, "I feel flustered, like I just showed up and it's been crazy," versus I plan my week and like I've been waiting for this day and like I'm still in that sweet spot. Like I almost still feel like it's still Labor Day weekend, just another extension of it. Such a big difference.
It seems like an oxymoron, preparing to be in the moment. I
Yeah.
mean, is that what we're talking about though?
Yeah, well, it's like structure for freedom's sake. Same type of concept, right?
Yeah.
So my ability to plan gives me the space to be able to be present. Because why? Because I'm not thinking about other things that I'm wanting, or I'm in a desired state versus in an undesirable state, thinking about the desirable state that I want to be in.
At the moment, what's the thing for you that gives you the most certainty that you know that you'll do? That gives you so you're doing that structure for freedom's sake. Is it or is it more flexible for you?
Well, what I'm working on is not waiting until I feel out of sorts. Like if we tend to drop our guard if we feel good. I don't want this ebb and flow of like I feel good, I feel bad, I feel good, I feel bad. I'm flustered, I feel planned. I'm flustered, I feel planned. I want to plan all the time, even when I get to the place of like, why would I plan today? I feel good. Like that is the reason. That's the reason that I should be planning.
And that's it, right? That is exactly it. It's like, oh, I'll go to the gym when I need the strength in my muscles.
Right.
So I go, can you help me move a bathtub upstairs up like 4 flights of stairs? Like, hold on, we're going to go and work out. It sounds ridiculous, but that's what we're
Yeah.
saying, right? It's like when you haven't got the
Right.
mental muscle capacity, but when you need it, it's already too late. And so if you feel that's why I'm talking about the max fill line thing, right? Once you're over it, it's already too late
Yeah.
because you don't realize is a delay, is a lag time in reverse.
Yeah. And it's good to know that there's reservoirs there when you go to reach for it versus reaching into an empty pool and be like, oh, I got to fill this up. Kind of like it's just the same thing you just said with the working out, right? Like, yeah, wait a week or two so I can build up my muscles and then I'll come back. It's it's building the muscles without the direct need, knowing that we'll always need it anyway, and we just rather have the access to it than have to go build it from scratch.
Do you eat avocados, Coach? Are you much of an avocado fan?
I do, yeah.
Good, good. I find there's a lot to learn from avocados because you can think about the same thought process in when you buy avocados, right? Like I'm noticing now in grocery stores they have maybe cottoned on to some of this stuff where you can get a different selection of avocados, right? The ones that require a lot of ripening, the ones that are ready to go right now, and they often point it out now. But it used to be like, well, you show up and the avocados like green, like, and it's like, okay, well, if I want an avocado this week, I got to buy one last week.
Right.
But then, in my house, I buy like a set amount of avocados, and then I bring them home, and they go sit on the windowsill. And I have to be aware of like how long they've been sitting on the windowsill. Often I'll turn them around. I don't know how much difference that actually makes, but I'll turn them around, and then after a certain amount of time, they're ripe enough that then they can go in the fridge, and then they're ready for to be consumed. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes I can do all of them at once. Sometimes some are better than others, but having to know up front, right? It's like I really want a good avocado, like on a Wednesday. I've got to know that on Saturday if I'm going to plan that out. It's like you can't just magic it, right? Things take time, the process to be followed.
Yeah.
And and I think what we do as coaches is we compress time, which we've talked about plenty of times. But I think it's an important distinction to make that we don't rush processes, rush time. Because the goal is not to go, all right, how do we, if we go from 1 to 10, it's not, all right, we're at 1, how do we skip everything to get to 10? It's just being efficient and on purpose and intentional enough to go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to get there.
Mm.
And that's a big difference than just cutting corners. Having the appropriate revolutions in your evolution rather than trying to skip steps just to get ahead.
Yeah. There's no shortcuts. Sometimes there are, but it always comes back in the wash, right? Comes out in the wash, comes back to get us. Yeah, I'm liking this topic because this is I just journaled about this either yesterday or either this morning or last night about the proactivity of not waiting. Like I want to have my process down before I need my process
Right.
because it's the difference between being reactive and getting back to the level I want to be at versus the proactivity of I'm in a good place, but I'd still like to be better. And the benefits are twofold there. It prevents me from dipping back down to the cycle, like I was talking about earlier, and it also creates the path for me to elevate and continue to grow.
So, so if we've got the reactive place, which we can agree is not fun, there's probably a place below that as well, though, right? So the reactive place is that person that's in the tyranny of the ozone, the busyness. That's just about getting things done. And this person appears very busy, feels very busy, it feels like they're doing a lot, but they don't feel good, or probably feel like they're getting rewarded for what they're doing. Or people don't appreciate it, and their emotions are heightened in a way that they don't necessarily want. But still, still productivity associated with that. So
Yeah.
what's the one? What might be the one below reactivity?
Like that's worse than reactivity?
Yeah.
Oh man. I've been there before, and I feel like it's a freeze. It's like a not even being reactive. It's a paralyzation of like I'm so busy, I'm so overwhelmed. I don't even know where to go. I don't even know how to act.
Right. So you might be paralyzed. You're frozen. Okay, I can see that. Yeah. So then you're frozen in, or maybe that you're frozen, you're paralyzed because you're out of fear, but you might also have told yourself you don't care.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost like a giving up or a giving in type of feeling.
Right. And it may not be true that you don't care. It's just that you've said I don't care, so therefore you kind of take away the responsibility.
Right.
But then when you take on and go, oh, okay, I do something about it, then you start the first level is reactiveness. And then okay, so then after that is the proactive part. That's better. But it's just being a little bit it's just more space. So I feel like proactive is not right either. What's the one above that? So
What
I
do you mean
don't
by
care.
more space?
So I don't care is like whatever. It's a lot of shit anyway. It's only going to continue to be more shit. Like I'm out. There's probably one below that as well, rock bottom maybe, that gives you leverage to come back up again, threshold. But reactivity is like, all right, I can do something about this. I'll just do what's in front of me, putting out fires. We know that's not good. Proactivity is being out a couple more steps in front, so you don't feel quite so bombarded with those things that are coming at you. But it's still not leverage, or it's still not only doing the things that are most important. It's still doing a lot, but don't feel quite. You're not overwhelmed by those a lot of things. That's kind of how it
Yeah.
feels. It's not proactive. Is not the opposite of reactive. It's just the next step along.
Okay.
So maybe
So
it is
what is
leverage. The one after
the one
proactive is
after proactivity? You're asking what that is.
yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I would call it bending reality. It's like
Okay.
manifesting the ideal version of your future, which is interesting because you and I are somewhat going through this process right now with another project that we have going on. with thinking out so far ahead that we're reverse engineering it so that we know that we're going to get what we want. And I just want to share this as something part of my process, or a realization that I was going through during my process, is that I had trouble defining what it was. And that's half the battle. If you can't define what it is, then you're just kind of like what we said earlier, just a whim. You're just going through life and you'll be somebody else's pawn in their game. So the first part, and this could maybe be my takeaway today, is how good can you think of what future you want to live in? And might you never leave that place? Always create the space. That to me is above proactivity. Do you see it that way? How do you see it?
Right. Proactivity has been having space to do the things that are defined to be done. And the level above that is you're defining the things and only doing the most important things. So it's like, do you remember that old computer game before both of our time where it's like there's the thing coming at you and you place like bombs at the bottom of it?
Yeah.
And so if you waited for a long time, you'd have to set all these different bombs because there will be different trajectories. But if you set the bombs early, you can catch like 4 of them at once because they're not spread out. So proactive is like being able to set the bombs at the front, so you're only having to do one bomb for like 4 of those things. Reactive is just doing all the shit. Don't care is like, I'm out, screw the game. And then the next level up is perhaps like you transcended that game. You're like you won before you even started because you're the one who's creating the game. You've created the rules to play with, rather than playing someone else's game.
Mm.
I think there's more to come in. Obviously, this all ties back into Tyrion the Urgent overall, so some other semantics around that also. But I think it's really important to create new language around that same concepts because it just keeps us giving us more and more nuance to think about. But I think that's it. If you're playing a game long enough into the future, that what's happening today is you're going to be protected from because you know what the future holds is better off.
Mm.
And yet sometimes there's some, depending on where you are on the scale, there's some remedial work to be done. But essentially, the further you go out, the better you're going to be. And yeah, it's hard because most of the time we haven't defined what things are before, and so we haven't got the muscle to go back to that point. Got to do the work to be able to do the work.
Mm.
You can't do it if you haven't done it before. But
Right.
that's like, well, what do I do? It's like, well, start, and then you'll start to find out. And also, it's like, well, I can do lots of different things. What should I do? But again, it's not about what it is, as long as it's about having something. And there's lots of resistance I get from that work, but as you said, as a part of another project we're doing, Coach. But that's certainly my takeaway. Great stuff. Any final words here?
I just wrote down writing the rules to the game. That's like the advanced version. We can write the rules to our
Right.
life, or the outline to our life. I want to think more about that. How do I actually do that? How do I execute on it? And what might that even look like for me? It's great.
So there you go. Then I'll leave you with this, right? That's right. That's the advanced version, is writing the rules for a game. Then the transcendent version is creating a whole new game, playing a completely different game.
Yeah.
And it's not just the rules for the game; you're writing the concept for the game.
Little cliffhanger. Awesome, Coach.
All
Good
right.
stuff.
Have it, Coach. Take care.
All right. See you next time.
Thank you for watching another episode of Truth Seekers. We appreciate your interaction, so please comment, like, subscribe to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want more, check out some of our links to our masterclass, The Achiever's Mindset, and come join our LinkedIn group. And what do you want to see more of? Remember, we're here to share the simple secrets of successful. So help us do that. What do you want to see? What do you want to see more of? Thanks, and see you again next time.